Alright, Maniac Moto here, back, and better than ever. We got a new microphone, nice little Sony microphone. The old one was just kind of, I don't know, it was getting kind of old and decrepit. It was starting to have frayed wires and kind of that kind of garbage. And I heard good things about this mic, so we're testing it out today. See if it's any good, see if the wind noise is okay. Because it doesn't actually come with like a little muff for the boom. It actually just kind of sits there. It's really, this is a lapel mic technically, but it was actually rated pretty high on like, I think it was like active videoing or something like that, like adventure videoing. They said in a pinch, you should use this one. So, and this was along with like professional mics with like nice, thick windscreens and stuff on them. And then there was this little guy that was like, you should have this in your toolkit just in case, you know, your powered mic or whatever goes bad. It's like, oh, well, let's just give that a shot because it's small enough to fit in my helmet. And the other ones are just like these massive, you know, these gigantic things. So yeah, we'll see how it works out. Today on the docket is really just taking my bike to go get fixed, hopefully. It's been probably about a year since the problem started with this whole, like, it running weird, especially at low RPMs, and still not throwing a code for some reason, but just not running right. It's misfiring and sometimes backfiring, and it's just not a good situation. So I shouldn't have let it go as long as I did, but I really didn't feel like paying to go have somebody else diagnose it after the first time. Because the first time what happened was I brought it to this little shop in Somersworth. I won't mention any names, but this little shop in Somersworth, and they kind of dropped the ball in a big way. They kept my bike for 4 weeks at the end of the riding season, and I had to borrow somebody else's bike to go on a fall foliage ride because the guy still had my bike, and it had been like 3 weeks. Turns out his main technician just kind of up and left for vacation or something, and he didn't have the staffing to really keep up with the demand. What is this person doing? My goodness. That late blinker though. Anyway, so kind of had a running with that. It's been an interesting year with this bike. But on the other hand, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing? Stay in your lane. Oh man. So yeah, it's been an interesting year with this bike because I took it cross country with this engine problem and it did fine, you know. It's held up okay, which is why it's a weird issue. It just kind of started happening pretty abruptly. It just started running crappy and then has stayed that way and hasn't gotten any worse over the course of like a year. So it's the craziest thing. The mechanic that I was telling you before that dropped the ball and kept my bike for way too long, he was saying, well, with the limited amount of diagnostic I could do, he said basically it's probably, well, what he said was it's probably your crankshaft position sensor, which in the in the actual manual for this bike, that exists. But in the parts list for OEM, does not exist. It's not a thing. I finally figured out what the heck he was what they meant by crankshaft position sensor in the manual, which is they just call it a pickup sensor. And everybody else, like on eBay and stuff, calls it like an RPM tack sensor, whatever the frick. So it's this weird little sensor. And pickup sensor, for those that don't know, because I didn't know until I looked it up, a pickup sensor is literally just a pickup. It's just a metal, it's just a magnetic, a magnetic piece of, oh my goodness. It's just a magnetic piece of metal on a coil that every time the crankshaft turns, it's got another magnetic piece of metal, and it pulls it, and it connects a circuit. So it's just a magnetic piece that just kind of keeps going, and that's how it tells the engine where the crankshaft is, because every time that touches, obviously the crankshaft is in a specific placement. Well, if that breaks or if it's not working properly, now you don't know where your crankshaft is, not very well, and you're not going to know when to spritz fuel and that kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, that's a very plausible explanation for why this is running so weird. It's just kind of guessing when to spritz the fuel in. Well, I replaced it, and it didn't help at all, which is kind of my luck. So anyway, after replacing that and kind of going through all the connectors and WD-40ing all the connectors, actually per my dad's advice, he works on cars, and so he kind of has some good ideas. And after doing all of that and having nothing work, I have nothing else to diagnose it with. It's not the ECU isn't throwing a code, so I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. So anyway, look at those snow machines. So anyway, the long and the short is, I'm done trying to troubleshoot in my garage. I'm just ready to bring it in and pay the money a second time. Because I did it the first time, and I got screwed. So, we'll see. I don't really have very high hopes, to be absolutely honest. But I hear really good things about the shop I'm going to, so we'll see how they do. Rolling through that stop sign. Yes, please. This bike is so good at doing wheelies. It's a joke. In first gear, and I know most people say like first gear wheelies really aren't a good idea, but the gearing on this thing, this is a 1000, it's FZ1. And with the FZ1, they tuned it and they made the gearing so tall that you really like second gear, and admittedly, I suck at wheelies. I'm not good at wheelies. I really am not. But at second gear, it's difficult to get the front wheel up. Like, unless you're doing like 60, 70 miles an hour, and I'm not kidding. Like, you gotta be going pretty fast. For me, anyway, to really get a good pop, you know. I can pop, little ones off, sure, but to get a good, that Honda Elite. To get a little one going, that's fine, but a nice big wheelie, first gear is where it's at. Because this sucker, okay, just to put things in perspective, first gear on this thing goes over 85 miles an hour. Like, you redline and it's doing like 87, 88. It's crazy. Oh, this guy, I'm gonna slap that booty. Oh man, there's a bunch of tough guys over here. Oh, that's funny. For the record, I'm not gay. It's funny, when I see a shirtless dude walking around all beefy, just like, yeah. Man, put a shirt on. Gonna get yourself burnt. I don't know. I'm overly critical of most things. Those that know me absolutely know that. That's why I can't watch Quentin Tarantino movies. I'm just overly critical the whole time. I'm like, that would never happen. This is ridiculous. And Quentin's just like, yeah, that's the point. Oh, right, that's the point. Beautiful New Hampshire. Maine and New Hampshire really are very nice states. They tend to be. The more I live up here and the more I talk to out-of-staters, the more I really appreciate living here. Yeah, the motto for Maine is vacation land. That's their thing, you know. Like the unofficial is the way life should be, but the actual official like slogan, I guess, would be vacation land, which I think is pretty dumb, but it actually rings pretty true. most of the populace, like most of the people that own these nice big houses in the area, and this is New Hampshire, I want to make that clear, this is New Hampshire, but Maine is very much similar. They're mostly just people from Mass. People from Massachusetts bringing their money in, building these huge monstrosities of houses, and kind of vacationing here, which is, you know, vacation land. And we say it's the way life should be because we tend to be fairly laid back. The locals do. Now, everybody moving in, they're all high-strung people from out of state. So, I mean, obviously out of state because moving in, but I mean, like, not New Hampshire people. New Hampshire people moving into Maine are basically the same people. They're New Hampshire and Maine are almost indistinguishable, except that Maine's a little bit more liberal by way of a government system, and New Hampshire is very, very conservative on most things. Although there are times when they swap, because Maine legalized constitutional carry, which means you can concealed carry a firearm without a permit. It doesn't matter. And of course, the same rules apply. You can't do that on a school ground. You can't do it in a government building because that's still illegal. But it would be illegal anywhere else. But constitutional carry dictates that I could hide a firearm down my pants, and nobody can say anything about it because that's constitutional carry. And I don't have to have a license to carry a firearm, concealed or out in the open. Whereas New Hampshire is nowhere close to legalizing that, at least as far as I know. So it's interesting. They kind of swap. I love this little church house. I love it. I love it. This little thing. They don't even have a bathroom. They have a porta potty out back. So it's very interesting to see like the two states. They're almost the same state, but they're not quite. Anyway, folks that move out of state find out how different life is everywhere else, and folks that move in-state bring their high-strung lifestyle with them. So you get these morons like, get out of the work! You know, and they're like freaking out on our road systems because people tend to drive slow. Up Maine. Actually, no, up Maine they tend to drive fast, but like in the boons, people are pretty like mild-mannered, and I shouldn't say slow, they're mild-mannered. So if you pass them, they're like, okay, he's got to get on his way. If they're driving slow, like, it's not a big deal. It's kind of like, everything's kind of chill out in the boons, and everybody kind of knows each other because the towns are so small and tight-knit. And then out-of-staters come in, they don't make any friends because they're weirdos, and they get angry at everybody for doing what they've always done, you know? Because that's basically what Maine is built on. Maine and New Hampshire, they're kind of built on, like, this is what we've always done, you know? Whereas the more progressive places like Massachusetts are like, we used to do that? Well, then we shouldn't do it anymore because that's not progressive, you know? I'm not saying one is better than the other per se, but I definitely could say there is something to be said for consistency. You really know what to expect when you live around these areas, for the most part. Like the cities will be cities, and the farms will be farms, and there's really not a whole lot of intermingling. And nobody finds fault in that. And it's funny to see, like, kind of case in point, we tend to own older vehicles up here. We tend to stay with what we know. We tend to stick with the vehicles we've been driving for many years. And then you see these, like, nice, shiny cars coming up, and you're like, they're from Mass. For the most part, they're from Mass. That or Old Man Jenkins' old jalopy finally kicked the bucket, and he had to buy a new car. But even then, they usually go used, and they usually buy what they already had. They usually don't buy new cars. So, it's a funny thing. Oh man, how much do I want the FJ09? Like, a lot. FJ09 is such a nice bike. It really is just a beautiful bike. Just pretty aesthetically, but also I've heard really good things about the engine. I haven't had a chance to actually test drive one, But I've had a chance to sit on one, and they are comfortable. Just nice bikes. So I think after this guy, like once we decide what we're gonna do with this, whether I'm like gonna get rid of it or whatever, because I still owe a little bit on this bike. Not that I bought it for that much, but I still do owe a little bit on this bike, and so I'm not sure if I want to actually sell it once I'm done paying it off, or if I want to keep it as long as I can. Because it's got 51,000 miles on it. This bike is getting old. I take this thing everywhere. And so, in that very way, I kind of want to take 16. Nah, I'll stay in town. No, you know what? I'm taking 16. Screw that. It's going to take too long to go through town. Plus, it's hot out. When you're moving, it's comfortable. When you're not moving, not so much. Okay, so up here, there's a place called Wild Willie's Burgers. You might be able to see on the camera at this point. You actually probably can't. GoPro video really isn't all that great. Not the old one. I'm on a Hero 2, so I really can't say for the new ones. But yeah, Wild Willie's over here. I've heard really good things about their burgers. I've wanted to try them many times, and never have. That was a useless bit of trivia about my life. So, all right, I'm gonna kill the video now because I'm going on 16, and it's probably gonna be oh headlines. Oh, okay. They moved. That's my old barber. Well, actually, you know what? Let's keep the video going. This is a test after all. Oh, shoot. Well, that was awesome. I'm an absolute moron. That's perfect. That's friggin' perfect. Let's see if I can get this guy up. Come on. Come on. I bent the handlebar. Of course I did. Tell me you're not leaking oil. Tell me you are not leaking oil. That's what happens when you don't pay attention. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens when you don't pay attention. Whoa. Amazing the heavy breathing after you get into an accident because you're all amped up. I'm alright. My bike's not so much, but that's alright. Thanks, man. I think I'm good, but thank you. Yeah, I'm just heading up to Rochester Motorsports, so. I don't know. I literally just wiped it, so. I think I'm good, man, but thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. Huh, that guy was nice. See if I can't get her off the road at least. Well, it's gonna cost a little more than just a. Oh man. Well, this is why you wear padding, because I'm an idiot. This is the first time I've actually been down on this bike. There's so many things I could have done better about that slow down. Go ahead, go ahead. I don't know what's leaking, but something's leaking. It might just be the fuel overflow. I'm hoping that's the case. Let's see if it doesn't blow up when I turn it on. Man, that is a bummer. My beautiful motorcycle. How we doing, darling? There you go. Neutral. Alright, how do you feel about starting? Because that would be great if you would. Okay, so you're starting. That's a plus. Oh, you are filthy. This thing was in great condition too. Well, let's throw this back on. So there's yellow. I could have made it over that. Yeah, there's so many things I could have done better about that crash. I just wasn't paying attention. Well, for the folks back home, oh, this is how you don't ride a motorcycle. Oh, frick. Yeah, I would say anybody watching, just do like the opposite of what I'm doing. It'll probably work out better for you. This is really not going to want to turn left all that much. But let's see if we can limp it back. I'll keep the video on. I gotta get this bent out. Actually, is the video still on? We're still rolling! Alright. Well, if there's any silver lining. Oh wow, this is a strong brake lever. This is so much easier on the Grom. Alright, let's see what we can do here. I really don't have anything to bend this back with either. That is solid. That is steel. Oh. Well, is the brake depressed? Because I can limp along with the front brake. Okay, it's not depressed, at least as much as I can tell. So let's see if we can just limp it back over. Should probably lose my license for that. Oh, that was bad. Oh, it's so dusty. Frick. Ah. This is horrible. I mean, it took the fall like a champ, but this sucks. Let's bend that mirror back out, because, you know, that's important. Alright, exit 15, here we come! You know, ultimately, live and learn, right? Because that could have been way worse. You know, I'm a moron, I understand that. And these are the kind of things that happen to me. But, you know, ultimately, really could have been worse. What do you think about it? I got rocks all on my gloves. Ah! Yeah, I could have slowed down way faster than I did, too. I've got dual front disc brakes, so I could have just slowed right down and not had that happen. But as soon as I saw how fast I was going and I looked up and I was like, this is gonna happen. And I kind of had already decided that it was going to. So, I'm an idiot. And we know that. We already know that I'm an idiot. It's not... I wouldn't even bother trying to save face because I'm dumb. There's no getting around that. Ah, but we made it! What an adventure! Rochester Motorsports, save the day, please. I have a feeling my front blinker doesn't work anymore, too. Oh, the humanity.